Welcome back, Red Spotters. Another show here in the Red Spotlight Entertainment Podcast. I'm your host today, Alexis J. Soto, and I'm joined today by Mr. David Francisco. David, how are you doing today? How did the holidays go for you?
Really good. I ate a lot of cheesy potatoes.
Same here.
Yeah.
Aren't they good? They're very good.
They're amazing.
And how many movies have you seen lately? If you could put a number on it.
I think 2? No, 3.
2?
3. Yeah, because it was...
Well, let me rephrase that. Since the last time you were on a podcast, how many movies have you seen?
5? I can't remember. It wasn't a lot.
It's been over a month, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just haven't gone that much, really, because fucking bills.
Yes. It is also that time of year that accompanies the holiday season is the bills and everything. So today we have a wonderful show for you guys today. We haven't really done a news show, and we're not going to today. So we're just going to keep trucking along. We're kind of on this like marathon to the end of the year, and we're trying to really catch up on as many movies as possible, especially ones that we haven't had the opportunity to talk about. And especially in Francisco's case, talk about films that he hasn't had a chance to talk about just yet. So it's going to be a show filled with several mini movie reviews, and yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into that right now on Red Spotlight number 202, which still blows my mind that we're in the 200s now.
Yeah.
Which is something so crazy. We'll get to the films. I'm going to mention the list of films that we'll be discussing right now, but beforehand, and I apologize to our film audience, we're going to go on a little bit of a tangent just to start off with, because I feel that this needs to be addressed. Have you, David, had a chance to look at the videos that are coming out of Florida at Walt Disney World? The Rise of the Resistance?
I haven't seen a single thing about that. I've only seen pictures.
Really? You haven't seen the ride-through?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Is there a reason why you haven't?
I don't know. I don't really watch videos like those type of videos much. And
really?
Yeah, I kind of rather watch it for myself. Like I haven't even seen the one in Disneyland, the Millennium Falcon one. Like I haven't seen a single video about that either.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate those that do, but I mean, it's a ride, and it's like, I don't know when the hell I'm going to get down there to even experience it. So it's like, everyone's like talking about it. Like the Pirates ride in Shanghai. I don't know if I'll ever be in Shanghai, but I mean, I've been able to see the ride through of that. Yeah.
That one I did watch because my sister made me see it. And then, yeah.
Well, I'm sure. Did your sister at least watch the Resistance ride through?
I don't know. I didn't ask her. She might have been. She watches that all the time, even she's been on it.
I mean, yeah, stay tuned to the Fantasy Faire people, if that's your thing, basically. I just wanted to mention it off top because it is a rare moment of agreement where, especially when it comes to not just Disney, but to a Disney Parks item that, like me and Kyle and Peter are like in 100% agreement. It's because we all saw the ride through of Rise of the Resistance, which is opening pretty soon, and they did something with this that this unexpected. It's not, let's say it's not a roller coaster. So hey, that's something. That's a positive. It is as classic a Disney attraction as you can get. They take the Star Wars template in this new trilogy, and they make what I would think, from what I've seen, the best attraction since Radiator Springs Racers. This is the Radiator Springs Racers of Batuu of Galaxy's Edge. What they do with this feels less like the thrill rides that we've been seeing lately, like a Guardians Mission Breakout, and more like a Radiator Springs Racers, where there are thrills involved, there are dips, there are drops, if that's nothing too much giving it away, but The technology and the immersion is outstanding. It is the best combination, I think, of what the best of Disney attractions have had to offer. Like Radiator Springs Races, for example, I think is one of the best they've ever done. And it is a combination of a dark ride and also a little bit of a thrill in there. And I think that's kind of the sweet spot when you also throw in the theming in there. And it is massive. It is breathtaking. A lot of what... and I'm saying this only seeing it through the lens of a camera. And I understand how Disney attractions are, because this was the exact same way with Springs Racers. The camera does not do it justice. I'll tell you that right now. It is a different thing to experience that when you're firsthand. And I can only imagine how much more sweet it'll be for you, David, whenever you get a chance to see, to experience, when we get a chance to experience it. By the way, Alexis, if you're listening, we're available next year to go see. Hopefully, if it opens, I think it is going to open. I don't know when exactly it'll open in Disneyland, or if it's even open yet at Disney World. I think it is, but this is something that I think would have been game-changing had it opened with the rest of Galaxy's Edge. And I think that's about everything people would have hoped for what this was going to be. So that's our little Disney Parks tangent. I think it's great. It's a great time. It's a great product from the Imagineers. The Imagineering story right now is streaming on Disney Plus for you Disney Parks geeks. And from what I'm hearing, it is outstanding. And I've seen, I think, the first episode. I think I've seen another episode. It is very good.
I haven't seen an episode yet.
No, it's a show made for you.
Mm.
It's a show made for Disney fans. And I think it's outstanding, except for the part of course they skip over the labor disputes, which is of course disgusting, but that's of course Disney's not going to dwell on the labor disputes, are they? But for the most part, if you're a Disney Parks fan, if you love to see the process behind the scenes stuff, this is great. So to me, that's like the best I've seen out of Disney Plus, because I am a Disney Parks fan. So that's where we are. And as far as today's show is concerned, and the movies that we'll be talking about today, we have David is going to give his thoughts on Jojo Rabbit by Taika Waititi and Knives Out by Rian Johnson, of which he also saw, and he has not had a chance to talk about it yet. So as we usually do, he is going to talk about the movies, and of course it is of no mind to anybody else, because I think it's universally agreed upon that these are some of the best films that we've seen all year. Some of our favorite and great times in the theater that we've seen all year. Also today on this show, we'll get into Frozen 2, Klaus, which is streaming on Netflix, Abominable, which is an earlier release from DreamWorks Animation, Zombieland Double Tap, which David saw, Ford v Ferrari, Good Boys, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and E.T. A Holiday Reunion, which many people, it is technically speaking a short film, aired as a commercial on Thanksgiving Day. But that's where it is. And that's going to be our show for today, and all of these reviews. So, Knives Out and Jojo Rabbit, as I had mentioned, we discussed at length. You can go to our previous podcast to get also Peter Martinez and Kyle Lira's thoughts on those, as long as what the descriptions of the films are. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and start. David, with your thoughts on these movies. You decide which one of these films you want to tackle first, and what you want to say about it.
By the way, I saw 6 movies since last time.
Oh, really?
I forgot to mention Irishman with you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. We'll get to that next episode, guys.
Yeah. It took me 5.5 hours to watch it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll start off with Knives Out. That was amazing. I really like the turn of the mystery type of thing, and also just everyone in the cast was really, really cool. and definitely surprised with like all of them. I mean, yeah, I was surprised with all of them. Ana de Armas, I didn't think she was going to be a big part of the movie. Oh man, I don't know the names.
It opens and closes with that character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the big surprises, because if you even look at the promotional material, she's off to the side. So you'd be forgiven, which I appreciate that switcheroo. And Ana de Armas is an amazing actress. So I'm happy that she got, it's kind of her movie in a way.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Chris Evans, he was really funny. It's honestly kind of like, it's really cool seeing him in a different movie. Other than like a Captain America,
in a different role,
and
he's as a villain basically in this film.
Yeah, villain. He was who was the guy? James Bond guy. Was it Daniel Craig? Daniel Craig. Yeah, him. He was really cool. He was really funny. Actually, I think this is like the second movie I've seen of him. I've never seen a James Bond movie. So
it's okay. I don't give a shit. What was the other one you saw? Logan Lucky?
No, I still need to see that. It was Dreamhouse. You heard of it?
No, I don't think I have.
It's like it's a bit of a mystery where he moves into a house and like he's with his family and like there's some weird stuff going on. Like it's either like some stalker or it's haunted. Like that's how it went in the trailers. But if you watch the movie, it goes a completely different twist. You might like it.
I've seen Craig in all the Bond films that he's been in, save for one of them, and he's great. But I, like you, I haven't come across much of his work as an actor. This is my favorite performance of his.
Same.
It is. There's just something about this particular role that look. It is demanding in how aggressively entertaining you have to be with this role, otherwise it wouldn't work. And honestly, Daniel Craig would not be one of the first people that would go into my mind when casting a role like this. But damn. It was damn good.
Yeah. What else? No, I mean, yeah, it was just so much fun. I love the twist. I love the ending. And yeah, it's just a fantastic movie. Honestly, it might be top 10 for me.
Yeah, I made a prediction on the last podcast that Knives Out was kind of the Hereditary of this year, where like all of us on this podcast network seem to just be like in love with the film, and just think it's amazing. And believe me, it's rare when that happens. It's really rare when that happens. Interesting thing about both films feature Toni Collette. So that might be like something in regard to that, but I predict that Knives Out is going to land on all of our top 10 lists. Some higher than others, obviously. But no, this film is staying with me. Like, I can't get it out of my head. And it's like, it's going to be one of those movies that, people are going to be offended by me comparing it to this, but it's like, it's kind of like, the entertainment value in this movie is so high. You can pop it in whenever you want, and you're going to have a great time. It's so rewatchable. And that's also, I've had a chance to see it twice. Oh my God. Do you get a lot more the second time when you like retrace all of those steps and you know what's coming? And the film is designed to work that way. It's honestly, the script couldn't have been written better. I think this is a front runner for Best Original Screenplay for the Academy Awards, because that's the strength of the film. If the writing isn't down tight, everything else falls apart. So good on him. Just to be clear, JoJo is an adapted screenplay, so it's not original. Just That's why it wouldn't be in contention in that regard. As if the Academy actually meant anything, but okay. But look, there's something else I looked back that we didn't address as far as the film, because the mystery is just so front and center. The costume design is also at a level 10 here. If you look at like all of these characters and these amazing like A-list cast have their distinct personalities, but they also have their distinct looks, their distinct colors. The color that is used to differentiate the people in this film is, oh my god, it's just like mind-blowing levels of insanity. Ryan Johnson is, God, if it's ever been used, a sublime filmmaker. I can't wait to see what he does next with his work in that regard. So, yeah. So you need to clear the air a little bit about this. So, the ending was ruined for you? We need to talk about that. What happened? Tell us the story.
So you wrote in the group chat, the first thing you put is, I feel dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And to anyone else, that's probably like, oh, what's he going to talk about? But you had just seen Knives Out the day before. I think you like uploaded the video already.
Uh-huh.
And in my mind, just immediately went, he's going to talk about Knives Out. And probably...
Really?
Yeah, because
Damn.
Again, like you saw a mystery and like it's probably in the movie, it's like in your face, like who the killer is.
Uh-huh.
And so like you saying like, I feel dumb. I immediately knew like, oh, you probably just didn't figure it out you probably didn't figure out the mystery till the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put, his name is,
Ransom.
Yeah. And I was kind of like, okay, so that's gotta be the guy. And then they said the name in the movie and I was like, oh, got it. He's probably doing it. But here's the best thing about that movie though, is that it kept, even though I knew he did it, I was still kind of like, did he do it? How did he do it?
It made you second guess yourself,
yes,
right?
That was amazing because like I'm getting to kind of spoilers. I mean, we already kind of did, but
yeah,
that's not really the point of the film, really, almost. But like you see it in the movie, and you're kind of like, oh no, how is this happening? Like, I need this solved now. Like, it was the best part of the movie for me.
What I told Peter in the last episode, it's a brilliant switcheroo, and what Peter said is like, look, the film, halfway about a quarter through, it reveals the mystery, quote unquote, and so it catches you off guard, and then you think you're convinced that it becomes a different movie, and then at the end of it, it comes right back around and like pulls the rug underneath you, and it's like, at first, like, okay, yeah, it's Chris Evans. Then it's like, but you know what? I don't think so. And then it flips you off because then like, no, you were right, and here's exactly what happened with all of it. This is, I think, for me, the best possible way a movie like this could have just worked out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, murder mysteries are fun. People have loved them since it's like an Agatha Christie novel. I know that one of my favorite personal Doctor Who episodes is in season 4 when Donna and the Doctor go visit Agatha Christie. It's hilarious and it plays out that way.
Yeah.
But it's like, I can't overstress this, that the writing had to have been just about perfect. No such thing as perfect, but as close to it as possible for it to have, had the impact that it's having right now. People from all like different kind of movie film tastes all agree on this movie. And it's also, as I told Peter, pretty noticeable how the so-called Phantom Menace people have been kind of like zipped. Nothing.
I haven't seen a single thing, and I really want to hear from them because, like,
right.
What are they gonna say? Like,
they can't say nothing because some of them like this movie.
Yeah, I know one YouTuber that I saw, he was just like, oh, I don't respect him as a filmmaker. I don't respect, and I was kind of like, how the hell did you watch this movie? How'd you come out of this movie?
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. But yeah, I'm glad that even though I somehow ruined it for you, it kind of wasn't, because you still were bought into the film. It still grabbed you. So clearly, it still it still ended up working great for you.
Yeah.
In that regard. So Jojo Rabbit, tell us about Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah. This I also love that the two kid actors. Oh wait, no, she's an adult. The kid actor in it, he was awesome. So much fun, so funny. Scarlett Johansson. I was really excited for her in this role because I saw like a little part of the trailer that kind of got me like, oh, she's gonna be great in this.
Let's get this right though. Roman Griffin Davis, 3 names. Roman Griffin Davis is the actor, the young actor that plays JoJo.
Oh, okay.
A revelation. A revelation if there ever was one. Look, I can't overstress this enough. Like, this movie had a lot of things up in the air in terms of how they were going to be executed, and it depended on the writing and how it was filmed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But being as it is, the title of the film is him, Jojo Rabbit. Had that performance not been as good as it was, the film might have damn well collapsed. And damn, did he bring what needed to be in this role. I loved him.
Yeah. No, he did. He was amazing. And
ScarJo,
also,
you were saying about ScarJo.
Yeah, ScarJo, again, she was awesome. Her portraying JoJo's mother. I loved their relationship. It was really adorable.
It was sweet.
Watching them together. Yeah, it was sweet. And the story was just so good. I love the kid's turn of like his perspective of the world, and I love like Scarlett Johansson's like perspective and what she wanted to do. Definitely one of Taika's best movies. I wouldn't say it's one of his funniest. I laughed. I did laugh, but it's just it wasn't compared to like What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Little People. It was.
I agree. I haven't seen. I think the other films are funnier, but I think that's almost by design.
Yeah, definitely.
Because one of the things, and I'm sure that when you listen to the After Dark, and I also mentioned this in the podcast, and I think even Kyle and Peter are on the same train. It's like we expected laughs, and the laughs were there, but the emotional weight that's in this story was just. It caught me entirely by surprise. Like what Taika does in this movie is like a perfect marriage of like the emotional weight and his brand of humor. The tonal inconsistencies are done like a professional in this. Like it's kind of like night and day how well they're handled. Like this is something that, and Peter mentioned this as well. It's like a new experience. Like this is something that I haven't really seen before. Like it there's just something so fresh about what this film gave us, you know?
Yeah, no, and I find it really amazing how he was just kind of able to make something suspense, like, yeah, like you said, like something really, really emotional, but also kind of hilarious. And there's also like this one scene where it was super suspenseful, but also just, again, hilarious.
Hail Hitler. Literally.
Yeah. No, and then, yeah, just the entire cast, they're funny too, and it's a great movie.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a great movie, and also, strangely, this is what you would describe as a Nazi satire film, but he marries that with a coming of age story with JoJo, and it is such an uplifting ending. Such an uplifting and inspiring. Like, I really love this film. Like this is my favorite film of Taika's because. While I do appreciate and like What We Do in the Shadows as well as Thor Ragnarok, for me, what I look for in movies more as far as weight is concerned and emotion, this he delivered in a way I never thought he could.
The emotions, emotions, he hits you with it. Really. Like
it's unexpected, right?
And
that also helps hit it harder for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like yeah, the emotion, it hits you, but then he also sets up something to make you hit you even harder. And yeah, the ending of it, that's when like it really hits you the most, because it's kind of like it's kind of a happy ending, and it's also kind of hopeful, and it was great.
Yeah, this is a top 10 contender for me if there ever was one, as well as Knives Out. So those are the films. Clearly, everybody on this channel loved them. And I think just quickly to mention, your sister liked both of these films as well, right?
Yeah, she loved Knives Out, for sure. Jojo Rabbit, yeah, she liked it too.
Overall, just positive feelings.
Yeah.
I can't say a negative thing about these movies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's rare too. That's rare. Yeah. Even in films like that, let's say overall that we love, that we can like, okay, there's some nitpicks, but I'm 100% okay with these movies. Love them. Mm-hmm. Frozen 2. Also, not gonna go the way you think, guys. I know Peter Martinez is like running a propaganda campaign to take down the film. It ain't working out because it just grossed like over $700 million in 2 weeks. No, not even. I think it was in 12 days. It grossed $700 million worldwide, which is, I mean, not a surprise, but also just astronomical how successful the film is. Even, and also kind of surprising because I feel like, just to give it away, you and I are going to be fairly positive toward our review of this film, but I feel it's kind of gotten a bit of a mixed reaction from, well, I think it's gotten a negative reaction from people who weren't, like, I guess, a big fan of the first Frozen, and it's also gotten a more mixed reaction from people who were fans of the first Frozen. Like, I've been hearing from, let's say, hardcore Disney fans that were complaining that they were taken off guard by the fact that this film was darker and that it wasn't like as fun as the first one, which is true, but like, again, not to like, bash Disney fans. I'm a Disney fan. You're a Disney fan. We just opened the show with a wonderful review of or a reaction to the video that everybody's been like watching, and a plug for Disney Plus and everything. But just to be real with you guys, like, hey, like what the fuck? Like, like, really, like, you guys, like, this movie had no right to exist. It really didn't. Like, all of us had been, like, saying, look, we don't want a movie. We don't want a Frozen 2. There's nowhere to go. But it actually, to my mind, it does something new. It goes somewhere else. And it is more mature. It kind of, like how Kyle compared it to the second series and the second movie in the How to Train Your Dragon series. It does something that you didn't think it was going to do, and I think it's better for it. And like, it's okay if you don't like what they do with it, but like, to complain that they dared to be different and they dared to go other places, it's like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know what else to say. It's like, you guys can't expect the exact same shit. Like, what were you expecting? Like, a retread of the first movie? Like, come on.
Like how Kyle compares it to Train Your Dragon, to How to Train Your Dragon 2. I actually kind of compared it to Empire Strikes Back. Like, I'm sure there's like different levels of quality in them. Right. But with the first Star Wars, like, it ended like at a happily ever after type of thing. Like, they stopped the Empire. You didn't need a second one. Right. But we got it. We got more information of the Force. That's just like on this movie, we got more information about her magic, about their kingdom. And if people say that it's darker, that's the same thing for Empire Strikes Back. And it's kind of like, I mean, I disagree that it's darker, but
I mean, I think people like to use that. I mean, again, I don't like to come off as like, accusing that the populace is very dumbed down, but to my sensibilities, and Peter would agree with this as well, when you throw the word darker, I feel like that's a really dumbed down, like a very simplified version of something else. Like, yeah, you can say that a film is like darker in tone. It's not. It really isn't. But what I think different about the film is it feels like a passage of time has happened. And as with all living things, with a passage of time, you grow. You mature, and I think that's kind of highlighted in this movie. Yeah. Look, I gotta say, look, I walked into this not expecting much. I kind of expected it to be like
the first one.
Yeah. I didn't expect it to be awful. I just expected it to be okay or whatever. And I didn't walk out. You'll go back to that After Dark. I didn't walk out like in love with it. I gave it a good review, and I thought it was a fair review for what it was. That's the one thing you can say that I was fair. But looking back on it, and I went back and I saw it again, and of course I've been listening to the songs. If Disney movies always deliver, it always happens to be a good soundtrack, and damn are the songs good in this movie. There's so much to say about Frozen 2, but and I'll let you kind of drive that discussion, but all I'll say is I think they kind of out Pixar in this sense, where they kind of delivered a sequel that, to my eyes, I prefer to the original, and one that I think is handled with such grace and elegance and just respect to it. I think the front and center focus of Anna and Elsa here, and the arc that they both go through, is handled so well. Like, I think the end product is so much better than it had any right to be. So that's where we start off with this. David, go ahead.
I came out of this movie loving it because the animation was so much better, and I love the land of it, like the whole elemental spirits and all that, and just her trying to like figure out her magic more. Mm-hmm. The music, I was unsure whether like I liked it better than the first one, but after a while, like I do find this soundtrack way better than the first one. Favorite one is Show Yourself.
And the soundtrack is probably one of the more contested areas of the film, because the first movie, I had to go back and revisit it, and it's like, oh yeah, there were a lot of really good, hits to it. And a lot of people say that, the music is the best part of the first film. I think it's kind of like a universal agreement in that regard, because you have such wonderful hits. But I did warn people, look, you can't expect, to me, it's not, whenever I judge a film's new music in comparison to the original's music, it always ends up biting me in the ass, because when I give it a few days, I end up just completely changing my mind. So I said, look, it's unfair after seeing it one time to say that the songs were as memorable as a film you've seen thousands of times. That's just not fair. Because I've heard the new songs, and I think, I know they work so much better in terms of how woven they are to the narrative of the film. And I think that's what works better to my sensibilities anyway. Songs that are integral to not just the plot, but the arcs of the characters. Like, they all kind of get a want song, or your classic Disney song. Like, the songs in the film, I think, work better for this movie than the songs in the other one. But again, though, they worked great in the first movie as well. So I think really what's impressive is that they've been able to write songs that I think are on par, at the very least, with the first film. But to my mind, I think it works better as far as what's happening here. Elsa gets two great songs. Kristoff gets a hilarious number, which is played for laughs, clearly, and damn, do the laughs hit hard. Anna gets a beautiful, sad power ballad. Look, I think hearing them over and over again really kind of like, you know what, this is great music. It really is, and they work so good in the movie.
Yeah, no, I really agree with you with that. The first one, like, the songs are just fun, really. Like, you just kind of get it. Actually, like, the first one, you just get a sense of the characters, because if the first song in Frozen, it's her life in the castle, and she's also excited that the doors are opening again. I think that's part of the lines. Like,
the most emotional one the closest emotional song, I think, is the Do You Want to Build a Snowman? When you see the lives of Anna and Elsa when they were kids. That shows the characters more, because that's how much they separated, as they're disconnected and all that. And then you get the other song, and then you get Let It Go, which again is her, like, being herself. Whereas this one, it just showed them how much they grew, really. Yeah.
And I thought I think that's why I really loved it more, probably.
The songs are also, as I kept saying throughout the review, they're also more mature. Not just with the subject matter, but in terms of how emotional they are. Like, these are, like, I think most of the songs are kind of sad songs, but also empowering songs in this as well. Like, Into the Unknown is like the Let It Go of this movie, and it is a great song, empowering. But I think the one that I think your sister also alluded to this, but the one that well, maybe not, but I think Show Yourself is also pretty emotional, pretty great. It really is.
It hit me hard, especially like I don't want to spoil it, but there's like there's a small part in it that like almost got to me.
It was surprisingly emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also it is several layers of it happening at the same time. It works on a story level, it works on a musical level, but it's animation, right? And I think in the subtle way, the animation may be the true star of the film, because oh my God, how much technology has advanced in just 6 short years. One of the things that I kept noticing throughout the film was just how lifelike the facial expressions of all of the characters were in this movie.
Anna especially, like the way they worked her face for the comedy of it and just her reactions, her emotional reactions of stuff. And like I said, like in the Show Yourself part, there's like this small part where like Elsa's kind of like crying, but she's also kind of smiling. And like that's the part that I kind of almost got to me because they animated it so well.
Yeah. It's also even the way the eyes move that felt just so like disturbingly lifelike.
Mm-hmm.
And not just with Elsa, but I know that in one of the new characters in this film is an Arendelle guard who was trapped in the mist, shall we say. He's kind of like becomes close with Anna throughout the film. And I think he's played by Sterling K. Brown. God, like he looks what?
There's like that him, like that small part of him. He was hilarious in it. Like they just made him work so well in the movie.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
You're so right. So I mean, that's also working on a level 10 as far as the animation is concerned. But it is, I think, a really great arc for Elsa and for Anna. Because the film has consequences. The film starts off with the song, Some Things Never Change, and this feeling of everything just wanted to be okay and to be fine. And throughout the film, it all kind of collapses in this, this inevitable change that, involves growth. And as Olaf said at one point, I feel like we're all going to be transformed by the time we get out of this mist. And yeah, that happens. Elsa gets a new look, but it's like what I really, I think what the best result out of the arc that Elsa gets through in here is that she, for the very first time, it's almost as if for the very first time we see her. Like actually her, because she feels so at peace, like she's alive for the first time ever. Because even in the beginning, like she's still not necessarily at ease with being queen of Arendelle. It's not really her place. And as she goes into the unknown, she's more of her mother, and she feels so much more at home with. And I forget the name of the villagers and what their name were, but that we see there, but. You are right, because it does delve into some other stuff that was lingering from the first film, as well as like why she has powers, what her powers mean, what happened to her parents, what they were trying to do, where do they come from, and the growth that they go through in the film is very much. There are similarities I will give you with what happens in the people from Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna look over some negatives, initially I was like not so hot on Olaf, because I'm not so sure exactly what the point of his character was. However, looking back on it, he works very well for what he is, and that is comic relief. And he's like, I think for me the surprise about it is that I like Olaf a lot. Mm-hmm. And like maybe if you don't like Olaf, it may like weigh the film down, but like yeah, he was in your face, but like he never got annoying to me. Like he was always like he had some quick one-liners, and they landed for the most part.
But also like his character makes sense in like what they did in this movie, because like he's sentient.
Yeah.
He has thoughts, and so like he kind of wants to expand that, and like he had like some pretty important roles in this movie, and his thought process on like what's happening, like in his inside him. Like it was really interesting.
It is an interesting character because, like, for the most part, he is treated and presented as a childlike, and he is a child in ways, but he's also, in a way, kind of wiser than everybody else.
Yeah,
it's so strange. What did you make of Kristoff lost in the woods?
That was my only complaint of the movie. I really didn't like. Yeah, I didn't like that they just kind of like threw him to the side.
He was kind of like, after that, he was kind of just like gone, right?
He was literally gone. Like, yeah, I mean, I like that, what he wanted to go through in the movie and all that, but I don't know. I think they could have figured something out.
At the very least, they gave Jonathan Groff a great number to sing.
That was actually my least favorite song. Because it just...
Yeah, it's not, I don't think it's anybody's favorite. I don't think it's terrible.
Yeah.
But I feel maybe it's weighed down because it's not supposed to be emotional, even though it is kind of for the character, but it's like it is played for laughs. It's supposed to be kind of comedic.
And that was actually why I didn't really like it much. It's just the way they did his number was so different from the rest of them. Yeah. It just kind of throws you off a bit. And yeah, that's really my only complaint.
No, I think this is a win. And honestly, I don't think that... I liked the first Frozen, but it wasn't a masterpiece, And it's like, but it definitely struck some kind of something it was a phenomena in so many ways. It awakened, I think, kind of a sleeping giant that for whatever reason Tangled and Tiana's films were only just like scratching the surface. But Frozen was a behemoth. But I don't think anybody would say it was the best Disney film. But looking at Frozen 2, it's like, look, I think it does something that if I'm going to say like between the two, which is more rewatchable, maybe I'd say the second one is more rewatchable. But who knows? And who knows if this is really the end? Because you know how much money this is making. But look, considering how the first film was so successful in large part because of the lyricists in the music and the songs, that they were able to come up with a sequel that at the very least can rival some of that, is damned impressive. So, any last thoughts on Frozen 2?
No.
So, transitioning to another animated movie of which I have yet to see and of which we will review later on in the month, Klaus, which is streaming right now on Netflix. Tell us about, Klaus is a Christmas movie, as you know, with Klaus. Let me go ahead, since I have Letterboxd open, I'm going to go ahead and read the description of the film. That way people are more familiar with what it is. So, welcome to the jingle. Oh, God, these taglines. When Jesper distinguishes himself as the Postal Academy's worst student, he is sent to Smearensburg, a small village located on an icy island above the Arctic Circle, where grumpy inhabitants barely exchange words, let alone letters. Jesper is about to give up and abandon his duty as a postman when he meets local teacher Alva and Klaus, a mysterious carpenter who lives alone in a cabin full of handmade toys. That's the movie. David, what'd you think?
I loved it. It's Klaus, by the way.
Is it Klaus? I thought it was Klaus.
Yeah. No, I mean it makes sense why you think that.
Why? Initially, I thought it was Klaus, but then I heard somebody say Klaus.
Really? Oh, yeah. No, in the movie they say Klaus.
Okay, then it's fucking Klaus. Fuck those people. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's really, really funny. The animation's awesome. It's almost like Spider-Verse type of animation, but it's also still like really 2D. And then
that's right. It is 2D, which is very rare these days.
Yeah, and it almost looked a bit like Spider-Verse too, which is really cool. And then just the story, like I honestly found it to be beautiful. Like just that whole the arc really of the main character, going from like being a stuck up rich kid to just being a nice person, and that little, and then that small little information of Klaus that you get of like why he is who he is. It's really amazing, and it's a Christmas. I love Christmas movies. Really, it's that whole the whole magic of Christmas, that being kind to others. I love those type of things, and this one like hits it hard on like being kind, being good, being doing good. Yeah.
Anything else to say on it?
No, that's it. It's just, again, I really found this to be a beautiful movie, a beautiful story, and really funny.
All right, so the next movie we'll be talking about is Abominable. This is one that I saw, and this is from DreamWorks Animation. So we're going on an animation roll here. A group of misfits encounter a young Yeti named Everest, and they set off to reunite the magical creature with his family on the mountain of his namesake. This movie isn't great, but it's not bad. It's not bad. I think it was pretty solid. I think the animation is great. I think the voice actors do a nominal job. I think Chloe Bennett, she's actually the lead in this. It's focusing on an Asian family, a Chinese, I think, family. And the characters are fun. I think a kid would have a blast watching this movie. I think it has a good message. Some things done in the movie that weren't exactly expected as they usually are, but you kind of know what you're gonna get, what you're gonna get watching a movie like this. When you see the trailer, you kind of know like which way it's going to go and everything. So, wasn't too much of a surprise, but it also wasn't a slog. It wasn't like one of those shitty animated movies you put on and it's like, oh god, this is like garbage. It's not. I think a lot of what is done in the film is handled with, you can see it with care. And it's like, with most DreamWorks films, this is kind of how I feel with it. You know, it's been a long time since I've seen anyway, a really great film out of DreamWorks that wasn't How to Train Your Dragon. It's been a while, but I think it is a very enjoyable movie. But it's the kind of animated movie that's geared very much toward smaller children. So just so you're aware of that. So, but overall, very good. Not really too much to say about that, other than it was good. Then let's go back to you, David, because you saw Zombieland do what? Zombieland do that. You saw Zombieland Double Tap. What was it?
It was good. I really liked the first one, so I was kind of excited for this one. And
when did the first one come out?
10 years ago. That's
really?
All I know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was 10 years ago. Let me just read the description real quick. Columbus, Tallahassee, Wichita, and Little Rock move to the American heartland as they face off against evolved zombies, fellow survivors, and the growing pains of the snarky makeshift family. So it's just like just more hijinks?
Yeah, it's more hijinks, more zombies, badass killing type of thing. I would say the comedy was fine. It's just that a lot of it had to do with like references of stuff. Like I know that the first one kind of did that, but I don't know. I think the comedy worked better in the first one. My only complaint is that they didn't really keep it as grounded as the first one did. Like with, because in the first one, like they were just like on the road the whole time. They found a mansion, like they broke into a mansion, but it's an apocalypse. Like you can do that. It's fine. But with this one, they kind of added stuff that, I don't know, I wouldn't really seem believable in that world. And yeah, it's not much
overall,
to say.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. It was pretty fun, but just
overall, did you like it?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Did you already answer that? It's just it cut off. It cut off, and I didn't hear you. So, all right. The next film is Ford v Ferrari, which is playing in theaters right now. They took the American dream for a ride. American car designer Carroll Shelby and the British-born driver Ken Miles work together to battle corporate interference. I love that part. The laws of physics and their own personal demons to build a revolutionary race car for Ford Motor Company and take on the dominating race cars of Enzo Ferrari at the 24-hour of Le Mans in France in 1966. This comes to us. This, of course, the film stars Matt Damon and Christian Bale, movie stars, and they're great in the film, as they always are in all the movies that they're in. It also comes to us from filmmaker James Mangold, who I've seen his previous movies, Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon, and also Logan with Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, and Daphne Keane. This is good, like really good. This isn't the kind of movie that it doesn't really lend itself to being anything of interest to me because it's just not my interest. Like racing movies are fine, sports movies are fine, but they're never really my kind of like forte. It very much looked like a comfort food kind of film, like a Blind Side or something that we've seen, like a Moneyball or something. So it offered something that I think is very familiar. But you know what I really appreciate about this film is just, and everybody keeps saying it, and it's so right. It felt so much like a throwback. Like this movie is something that we would have gotten, I think, in the 90s. Like it feels very much old fashioned in the way of how movies like this used to be made. It feels, I guess, a bit nostalgic, a bit familiar. But it is an entertaining story. It features eccentric characters. And it's beautifully shot, wonderfully acted. But again, it is, I don't know if it fits into the biopic category because it is obviously a telling of a true story. And so it's one of those movies that if you know how this story goes, you will, be very much not surprised by how the film ended up, because it very much is, the true story of it. And it's a very entertaining film. There's something that happens at the very end that I'm curious to hear more people talk about how they felt about how that was handled per se, involving the exit of a certain character, shall we say. But the film works. It works really well, and it's a really good time, and it is the definition of a crowd pleaser in a movie theater that I think still has a bit of weight in this day and age, as opposed to anything else besides just a superhero blockbuster. That it was very well handled. So that's Ford v Ferrari. The next one we have is Good Boys. Did you see this, David? So this movie was actually pretty surprising. Surprising in the fact that it was good. I just got to say, it was produced by Seth Rogen. And this is, you must be this tall to see this movie. A group of young boys on the cusp of becoming teenagers, they're tweens here, embark on an epic quest to fix their broken drone before their parents get home. This is a great comedy film. Raunchy comedy film. Definitely earns its rated R rating for sure. If you're of a certain age, if you're a parent, this may even make you feel uncomfortable. But I think it is the true depiction of small children, growing into teenagers, of what it is. It's hilarious, which is important for a comedy. It's fun. The leads grab you, and they have to, obviously, as you see throughout. They're going to be with you in this movie. Jacob Tremblay is the lead in this, and as we keep saying and pushing in this podcast, he is going to be a superstar one of these days. Like, this kid is an actor, if there ever was one. The way that he so easily just like goes into any kind of role is just surprising how good he is, and you really see how good he is when you watch him in this movie. But again, It's more, it's lighter fare, but it also delivers, I feel, on the laughs. And that's, I think, the most important thing in a comedy. And more to the point, it's been a damn good year for comedies. And no one's talking about it. And especially Seth Rogen. He produced this and he also starred in Long Shot with Charlize Theron, which is also quite good. So definitely recommend those films for sure. Next up is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. This is starring Tom Hanks, released by Sony. And as you can tell, this movie is about Mr. Rogers, but also kind of not really. Let me get the description for you right now. So, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Won't You Be His Neighbor? An award-winning, cynical journalist, Lloyd Vogel, begrudgingly accepts an assignment to write an Esquire profile piece on the beloved television icon Fred Rogers. After his encounter with Rogers, Vogel's perspective on life is transformed. This is a beautiful companion piece to, let's say, if you're a fan of Mr. Rogers, Won't You Be My Neighbor? It's not, I think, as great as that was, because I think documentary film, it just, I think, a better job of this kind of story anyway. But look, Tom Hanks is Mr. Rogers. He transforms into this. It's kind of scary. It's really scary how good he is in the role and how he becomes Mr. Rogers in front of your mind. Matthew Rhys plays Lloyd Vogel here as the cynical journalist. This shows you the magic of Mr. Rogers. Like, this movie it doesn't star Tom Hanks. It really stars Matthew Rhys. Tom Hanks as Fred Rogers is a supporting character in this. And he might even get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. But he's a supporting player in that it is about the journalist's story and the struggling relationships in his life that are kind of like consuming him. And it becomes kind of like an adult episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood because it opens and closes with It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and then it closes off, and it's kind of like an adult episode of the show. And it's very well done. Beautifully made film. And if you're a fan of Mr. Rogers, you will get emotional. And again, scary how good Tom Hanks is in this movie. And the last thing we have for today is E.T. Holiday reunion. This is not something I was expecting to ever talk about, much less on this, but this is a short film that was dropped as a commercial by Xfinity on Thanksgiving Day, and it got people on Twitter very emotional. After 37 years, E.T. comes back to visit his friend Elliot for the holidays. During his stay, E.T. learns that Elliot now has a family of his own and that technology has completely changed on Earth since he last visited. It's 4 minutes. It's a short film. And you know what's... the actor who plays Elliot came back, obviously, to do Henry Thomas. And he described this short film in the best way possible. The short film gives you everything you possibly could have wanted out of a sequel without tarnishing the original. And in some ways, you almost feel like maybe more franchises would do this than not, because it's not a feature-length film. It's a short film. And it gives you those nostalgia bites that you kind of would have wanted in a very small, compact time frame. In a way that it doesn't have, because if it were a feature-length film, then it would just be criticized for being a retread, a carbon copy, a useless thing. And yes, this is needless. This short film is something that didn't need to exist. But damn if it doesn't work. Fuck me if it doesn't work. Look, E.T. is one of my favorite films of all time, made by one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. I watched this Thanksgiving morning, and let's just say I was kind of a weeping mess after it ended. It really was, because I also recently watched E.T. when I got the film again, and the ending is a very emotional ending for that kid, and to see, as this is a holiday reunion, but by the way, E.T. looks great in this. I'm sorry, it had the feels, and I agree with Henry Thomas. It had all of the feels that you were looking for out of a sequel, without obviously having to be anything more than what it would be, even if it were a feature length film. Again, it's not something that most people would consider to be I don't know, important. It is pretty useless, but like you sit down and watch it. It's 4 minutes. You'll get, I think, a little nostalgia out of it, which is what the point of it is.
I mean, it's just fun. That short little clip. It's just fun. I honestly, like, my first thought after watching it was that Domino's commercial. You know, the one that they like redid the Ferris Bueller Day Off type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
It reminded me of that. It's like, so could you consider the Domino's a remake of the Ferris Bueller?
How long has it been since that commercial?
Oh my god, I think it's since the first season of Stranger Things, no? I mean...
Oh, it's like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Around there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... Like, I kind of compared it to that. Like, it's just a fun little thing, and why not use it for, like, hit the feels with people.
No, man, it hit me hard. It was like, damn. It's... I don't know. It feels stupid, but it worked for me, you know? It really did.
I mean, it's really just everything about it, like the ET itself, the music, or like hit anyone who's ever seen it. I know. I feel
everybody has seen it.
Yeah, I know. Like this Apple commercial that came out recently, they used the music from Up. You know, the one in the beginning.
Yeah.
That one, like, I saw that for the first time, like hearing it, I'm like, oh my god, no way! Please don't do this to me. and I nearly cried towards the end. Like, it'll affect anyone who's ever seen ET, really.
Especially if you love the film. I forget that you like that movie, Up, only because Peter continuously screams it into existence that your sister does not like it.
In this, I like the movie, but I'm kind of in the same with my sister. That's like our least favorite.
But you're getting emotional about it.
Yeah, I do get more emotional, but it's mostly just the beginning and the end.
Okay. Well, I'm sure if Peter ever hears this, I'm sure he would want me to tell you that he will continue to, hit you for whatever, for your opinion, I guess you could say. But yeah. Overall, interesting collection of films that we talked about today. Kind of, short, sweet, to the point. Not really much to say about all of these, aside from the very first films. But before we go, do you have any plans? What's next on your radar to see? Because I know you saw Irishman.
Yeah.
What's next on your list?
I just remembered that there's a movie on Amazon Prime that came out this year. Like, I think it might have come out a few weeks ago. Hold up. I dropped my phone. Let me get it real quick. I forgot what it was called, but I remember watching the trailer for it, and, like, I was, like, very interested in it. It's, like, about this woman who, her life's not just going the way she wants it to go, and to kind of, like, just make that small little change, she decides to train for what's it called? New York City Marathon. And it's just kind of like her progression. Because if you listen to anyone who like tries to exercise, they always have like so much trouble just trying to take one extra step. And that's kind of, I think, what this movie's trying to do. Like, show that off in a comedic way. It's the movie's called really? Oh my fucking god. No.
What happened? Your phone crashed?
It's just like I turned it back on. It shows me something else. Brittany Runs a Marathon. That's what it's called. Yeah. I remember watching it like in the beginning of the year, I think, a trailer for it. I think it just recently came out. That one I'm kind of excited to see. I definitely do want to try to watch Good Boys. I know I want to see 21 Bridges, and I still need to watch Doctor Sleep.
Yeah.
And then one thing I'm really excited about, it's not a movie, but this Sunday, or December 8th, I don't know when this one's going to come out, the CW shows like Arrow, Supergirl,
Infinite Crisis.
Batwoman. Yes, I'm so excited for that.
I feel everybody is like talking about that endlessly.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, by the time this episode drops on Netflix, there will be a Marriage Story, which is also a film that is being talked about a lot with Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson.
I'm also excited for that.
I will also be seeing Klaus, Little Women, which is directed by Greta Gerwig. I love her. With like a lot like Saoirse Ronan, Emma Watson, Florence Pugh, Eliza Scanlon, Laura Dern, Meryl Streep, and Timothy Chalamet. I'm sure if it's Timothy Chalamet, I'm sure your sister will be there to watch that. It also has Emma Watson in it, so there's that. And other films that will be going on into the month. The next episode, Peter and I will get into The Irishman. We're going to match it and see if we can get, no, we're not going to do that. If we can get the podcast to be as long as the movie. There's no way. We've never had, I don't even think our longest podcast would rival the runtime of The Irishman. The longest, there have been a few that have gone over 3 hours, but those have been the top 10 shows. But that's a lot of talking. And later on in the month, we'll be talking about Zhang Bong-ho's Parasite and The Farewell by Lulu Wang. And, of course, as we get closer and closer to Star Wars, The Rise of... How are you right now, David, with Rise of Skywalker and the promotional and the TV spots and all the stuff that you've been seeing? Where are you with that?
I mean, I'm excited about it just because
it's a Star Wars movie.
It's J.J. Abrams. He knows how to visually impact a movie.
Yeah.
But with the leaks and just kind of all those Star Wars haters, Last Jedi haters, sorry, just kind of talking shit about it. It kind of gets me down a bit, but who knows how I'll be after the movie. I might love it.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I really don't about it. But, it's what happens with it. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end it off there. So thank you so much for being on this show and for all the movies that you watched. And thank you all for listening. We'll see you back next time. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, stay under the spotlight, and bye-bye.